Welcome everyone to the Transformation Summit. Together we are wise women rising for embodied change. I'm Alison Palmer, I'm your host, and I'm thrilled today to be speaking with Dr. Miriam Phields. Now you can read her full bio underneath here, and she's been doing such amazing things. So please do take a moment just to look at it, because then you'll see all of the wisdom that she's bringing to share with the world. To introduce her more briefly to you, she is the co-founder of Center of the Heart. She's a passionate yoga teacher. She's a sound bath practitioner. And really, she's just absolutely passionate about bringing more self-care into the world. So welcome to you, Miriam.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here and to talk about my passion. So, I just as a co-founder of Center of the Heart, and just to put what I do into context, at Center of the Heart, we offer healing experiences to individuals, groups, educators, and communities. Our particular approach to healing is based on the body's complex relationship with the mind and the spirit and the role in healing. And so we believe in the restorative power of the human body, mind, and spirit.
Beautiful, beautiful. Thank you for bringing that in. So what we're talking about today is one aspect of that, which is yoga. And we're talking about it as a radical act of self-care. So I think this is just fantastic for the summit, because, it's the Transformation Summit, and it's all about that movement from the inner work we do to taking it out there and sharing it. And self-care seems to be a very important and neglected area of that, curiously. So I'd like to start by asking you, because I know that you believe that self-care is actually a radical act. So I'd love it if you could talk more about that. Self-care is a radical act.
Okay. So, I would like to share one of my favorite quotes from Audra Lorde, a Black lesbian writer and activist in the US. And she says, caring for myself is not self-indulgence. It is a self-preservation. And that is an act of political warfare. So I'm going to read that again. I just think it's so good. Caring for myself is not self-indulgence. It is self-preservation, and that is an act of political warfare. And so I think that makes self-care really is a radical act, because in many cultures and societies, women, not just women, but I'll just speak for my context, the US, we focus on being busy and productive and getting things done and do. And so much so that we brag about how busy we are, and we are rewarded for our busyness. I think often, particularly for women, we may be encouraged or socialized to focus on others and their well-being. And so just the thought of taking care of myself is really a radical act, and even more so for folks who are in places where they are oppressed for a variety of reasons.
Yeah,
Um,
that's such a powerful quote, and I'm so pleased that you brought it and shared it here today, because we can often just think of um, self-care as being something more like, or just taking a bubble bath with candles and things like that, and not actually seeing it for how powerful it is. So I really love that. I love that energy that you brought in, and it's so right. And what it brought up for me when you read it was the rise of femicide, for example, throughout the world, and historically as well, how prevalent it's been, and the violence that is perpetuated to women. And so it's almost like, well, we can't wait for somebody else to take care of us. It's just not, we could wait and wait and wait. it seems to me that part of that, and part of, the quote that you said, is about actually owning that self-care is our responsibility. Do you think that that's correct?
I really do. I think who better to take care of ourselves than us? When we build an awareness of what's going on within us, and within our emotional body, our physical body, spiritually, we're in the best position to have the information to know what we need. And we can get support in our self-care, but we're really the best people to know that. But I think sometimes, again, we can be socialized to ignore the signals from our emotional and physical bodies, and kind of soldier on, and continue and not listen. And so part of that self-care practice and part of yoga is building that internal awareness.
Mm. Yeah, I mean, we all say, oh, yes, self-care. Yes, I'm going to do self-care. And oh, yes, it's so delicious. And then we exactly as you say, we just succumb to the socialization. And especially, I feel the idea of um, what it means to be a strong woman, and a strong woman shouldering all the responsibilities of everybody and everything, and getting so exhausted in the process. And still we have this little idea going on, yeah, self-care, I'm going to do this. And we just seem to never prioritize it, or rarely prioritize it. So why do you feel that it is, you talk about women activists, so why do you feel that it is so important for women activists? Because and and I'm curious also to, what do you mean by women activists? Because I think that's quite an interesting thing in itself.
Well, I think of activists as people who have made a commitment to change things for the better, to usually we want to change things for the better. I can't imagine, and the other direction, either improving the lives of others, sometimes including our own lives, but making things better, for all of us, or for others. So that's how I see an activist. And you can be an activist by raising your children in a certain kind of way, or you can, that makes them go out into the world and make the world a better place. But you can also be an activist, by trying to change a community or an institution or a system or the world. I see it. There are many different levels of activism, and all are important and relevant.
Mm, that's so beautiful. And I'm so pleased you said that, because too often activism is seen, or activists are seen to be these, really strident people right at the forefront of fights, and actually it's what we're talking about in this summit is something that is, we are all activists if we choose to switch on that consciousness button, I think. So,
Mhm. And I think, I said, I want to amend a little bit. I said, activists often are focused on others, but you can also be an activist by, changing myself, being the change I want to see in the world. That can be my activism as well, because I do make a difference. When I'm different, I make a difference in the world. But I also know, um, by I can change myself, I'm maybe modeling or inspiring others to do the same. And so there can be activism at the individual, at the self level too.
yeah, oh, I absolutely love that. It's so true. And in that process, it's like the conscious choice to really hone into our truth, and to be that truth, even if it's, you know, even if it's challenging to be that truth. Um, well, that's what it says to me. I'm not going to put that on anybody else. I mean, everybody has to, is going to find their own resonance with what it means to be, working on themselves, and being the change they want to see. But that's what it means to me. Let's move on to yoga because this is one of your real passions. So, how does yoga how does yoga relate to self-care?
Well, so there's many different types of self-care you can practice, right? For me, yoga it can be a really holistic path to self-care. And I think one of the things I think that's important to self-care is is that it's a practice of it's a I have a definition I want to read if you don't mind.
Mhm.
um, I love this definition of self-care, which is the practice of taking action to preserve or improve one's own health. And I like the idea that it's a practice, meaning something that you do often or it's part of your routine. And so I think yoga can be used as a practice of self-care because yoga works on many different levels. In the US, often yoga, there's a misunderstanding that yoga is exercise or it's about being hyper flexible, doing hyper flexible poses. But that's really a kind of reduction of all of what yoga is. The physical poses are just one of 8 limbs of yoga. And yoga, loosely translated, means union, union of body, mind, and spirit. And in yoga, we're building awareness of body, mind, and spirit, or body, mind, and breath. And we're creating a more keen listening or awareness of what's going on within us so that we can listen to those voices and know how to take care of ourselves. And so that's to me the beginning of yoga as a radical act of self-care. There's different types. Well, let me just say the 8 limbs of yoga. There's the ethical practices. The yamas are the restraints, and or the things that you would avoid, like ahimsa, non-harm, not harming others, or the niyamas are the practices, the observances, the things that you would do. The asanas are another limb. Those are the physical poses people are more familiar with. Pranayama or pranayam are the yogic breathing techniques. And those people are more aware, a little bit more aware of those. Pratyahara is the withdrawal of your senses. And then dharana is focus, concentration. Dhyana, meditation, people know that, associate that with yoga, and samadhi, which is bliss or enlightenment that we would all love and aspire to as well. I think yoga, there's research now, what we've known for centuries, but now we have science to support, is that yoga can be very helpful to reduce or eliminate the symptoms of physical and mental health symptoms. We know that it can help with depression and anxiety, addiction and trauma, cardiac disease, respiratory illness, diabetes, insomnia, which is near and dear to my heart, menopause, and strength and flexibility. So yoga can help with a variety of symptoms, mental and physical symptoms. Um, what I want people to know about yoga is that everyone, all bodies, everybody can do yoga, regardless of your strength, flexibility, abilities, body type. Everyone can do yoga. And again, 8 limbs of yoga. And so, yoga as a self care practice, in addition to the physical poses, I'm not going to spend as much time on that because I think people are somewhat familiar with that, is the yogic breath techniques are so helpful. And particularly for women, for everybody, but for women and for activists, they help us to regulate our nervous system, to reduce stress, to lower our heart rate and blood pressure. And these are things that we can notice or observe in ourselves. So we don't we don't necessarily have to have a scientific study tell us that that's what's going on. We can notice those changes in our own bodies. So practicing some of the yogic breathing techniques, I think, are very helpful. meditation helps to calm the mind. And our minds are so busy. Our minds are just chattering. I don't know about you, but there are many voices in my mind chattering away, sometimes arguing with each other. Often we are, um, um, it's considered a skill to be able to anticipate every potentiality in the future and come up with a strategy. If this happens, we'll do this. And if this happens, so we're predicting the future or we're ruminating on the past. So our minds are very busy. And so meditation helps us to calm and rest the mind, which is important sometimes, not necessarily all the time, but we need that rest. Another type of yoga is yin yoga that people may not be as familiar with. In yin yoga, you're still doing some physical poses, but only a few physical poses, and you're holding them for maybe 5 or 10 minutes with a lot of support. So again, you don't have to be super strong or super flexible. You have cushions and bolsters and blocks and things that support your body to comfortably hold that pose and lengthen that part of your body in a way that feels very relaxing. Another type of yoga that I would recommend, one of my favorites for self-care, is restorative yoga. And in restorative yoga, it's like the yoga of complete rest. You lay in a position for maybe 15-20 minutes, and it's a pose that promotes relaxation, letting go, release. So imagine yourself kind of laying on your back on the floor or on a mattress, and every part of your body is supported with a pillow or something soft and comforting, with an eye pillow or covering over your eyes to darken the room, and maybe some nice incense or a candle burning, creating this comfortable environment. And you just be, if that makes sense. You just try to relax and let go, release tension wherever you find it in your body. And that's what you do for the whole class. That might be an hour of just relaxing. And for some, that might sound terrible, like, oh my gosh, like, how could I just lay there and do nothing? What I like about restorative yoga, as someone who suffers with hormone related insomnia, is that there's no pressure to sleep. There's nothing worse than trying to sleep and you can't. But in restorative yoga, you're resting without any pressure to sleep. But if you fall asleep, it's okay. That just means your body needed the rest. And then the last particular type of yoga I wanted to touch on is yoga nidra. And some people call it the yoga of the sleep yoga, but it's a practice of awakened sleep, where you're in that place between sleep and being awake. Maybe you're aware of that in the morning where you're kind of not quite awake, but you're aware. You're in that place where you're aware, but you're not fully awake. And in yoga nidra, that is a practice where you're in that state of rest. And if you practice it regularly, again, a consistent practice, it will help to regulate your central nervous system. And I think there's a particular reason for women and activists to want to do that.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, I do some yoga. I do some yoga, I'm pleased to say. And I love what you said about the importance of making it part of your practice and your everyday routine, if you can, or in some way bring it in. Um, because yes, we come across people who just add it onto their to-do list, go to yoga class and tick the box off. And and as you so well explained, there's so much more to it and so much more available in yoga for each of us. um, and so a lot of people are going to be thinking, I'd love to do that and I just don't have the time. So how do we deal with that conundrum?
Okay, well, that's a great question. And especially for busy people, right? Time, like I don't have enough time. I think to start a consistent practice, um, you want to do something that's in that you can enjoy, and you want it to um, be short enough that you can fit it in. And so it's hard to say, I don't have 5 minutes. Like, I know I can waste 5 minutes looking at social media, easy, right? Or just putts around the house and lose 5 minutes. So I would say start with, I would say start with, try to make, for me, it helps to make something a habit. So I don't think every morning, do I have time to brush my teeth? Right? It's a habit, it's part of my routine. Um, I also don't think about, am I going to make time for a cup of coffee? Right? Like, I have that coffee and I brush my teeth. They're about on the same, right, in terms of priority. And so if you make something a habit, I think that can help you with a consistent practice. So figure out, would would it be hard for me to say I don't have 5 minutes? Like, for some would say, well, I can squeeze 5 minutes. I can reduce, something so I can have 5 minutes, and start with 5 minutes. But if 5 minutes is too much, then 3 minutes or 1 minute, or start with one thing, that you would want to practice. That would be your minute or 2 minutes of self-care. I would say begin there. And then as you can fit in, maybe a yoga nidra class or something more, you can, that's kind of icing on the cake, but at least, have your cake that's your consistent practice. And so start where you are. Have compassion for yourself. It's okay if all you have is 5 minutes or all you have is a minute. That's fine. Start there.
Mm, that's such a useful answer, because we always tend to think, okay, if I'm going to do that, I've got to, do it big time, and it's got to make an instant impact in my life. And it's got to be, I don't know, almost like it's got to be hard work, otherwise I don't deserve it, or I'm not going to get any results from it. And what you're inviting us to explore is just this possibility of finding just small moments that we can build into a habit. And I guess just that, I love that you said be compassionate with ourselves in that process. And also that would extend to don't beat yourself up if you think, okay, well, I've done this, and I'm not getting an instant result as this. But it's the habit, just with any habit, as we practice the habits, then we begin to see changes. And we know that because we're all in transformation, but somehow we kind of, we know it conceptually, and it's another one of those things that we can speak about, but actually when it comes to us, we can feel that there's, I don't know, we are the special cases because we are just so busy, but we're not really, as you've rightly said. I know that you've got a little exercise that we could do, and this would seem like a really good time to do it.
Yeah, this would be great. So I could talk about yoga forever, but I really like to do yoga and share yoga in terms of the practice of it. So I would love for us to do a short practice of, it will be some breathing and some mindfulness. So that's something that everybody can do. And so if we can begin sitting in a position that's comfortable with a straight spine, or a straight-ish spine as is comfortable for your body. And you can relax your hands on your thighs. And if a sitting position is, I hope that everyone can do this along with us. If a sitting position is not comfortable for you, or you're not able to do that, you could do this in a reclining position that is comfortable. Okay. And so inhale and bring your shoulders forward and up towards your ears. And exhale and roll your shoulders back and down. Just kind of open up your chest. Bring your neck into alignment with your spine and keep your chin parallel to the floor, whatever that is, feels like to you. You can close your eyes if you feel comfortable, or you can find a spot in front of you for a soft gaze. And focus on your breath. As you inhale through your nose, feel your belly expand. As you exhale through your nose, pull your navel in towards your spine. As you inhale through your nose, feel your belly expand. And as you exhale through your nose, pull your navel in towards your spine. And continue to breathe in this way at your own pace. We call this diaphragmatic breathing. And when we breathe in this way, we're putting more oxygen in our blood and circulating throughout our bodies. And we're expelling more carbon dioxide from our lungs. And focus your mind on your breath and see if you can notice how the air feels cool in your nostrils on the inhale. And see if you can notice how the air feels cooler in your nostrils on the exhale. Just noticing any sensations connected to your breath. And let your breath connect you to the present moment, letting all your thoughts about the past and the future just slip away. And try to make your out breath a little longer than your in breath. And if your mind wanders from your breath, that's okay. That's what the mind does. It thinks and it solves problems and it creates problems to solve. Just bring your mind back to your breath over and over again. No judging, no scolding. And notice the ground under your feet. And notice your seat supporting your bottom. And identify your breath as an inhale and noticing your breath as an exhale. And you can keep your hands on your thighs, or you can slowly circle your hands together into a prayer pose at your heart center in a gesture of gratitude and appreciation. And repeat after me to yourself. I am enough. I do enough. I give enough. And you can relax your hands back down on your thighs. If your eyes are closed, you can slowly and gently blink them back open. And that was the practice. I think that was about 2 minutes. So I think we all can find 2 minutes. So just to take a moment and quiet the mind and settle down. And although it might seem like we're doing nothing, we're doing everything. And this really positions us better to do our best work. When we take care of ourselves, we're in a better position to do for others and change the world.
That was really beautiful, really just amazing. So gentle, so full of compassion. I really felt that invitation to be compassionate towards myself. So I hope everyone else did too. Miriam, that is just amazing. And I know that people are going to be saying, okay, well, what's next? You know, how do I find out more about what you do and what you bring to the world? I know you've got some gifts to share with people, so I wonder if you could speak to those briefly.
Okay, so at Center of the Heart, on our website, centeroftheheart.org, we'll be offering a free restorative yoga class. And so it'll be pre-recorded. And so you can just go there and download it for free. It'll be about like a 30-minute class to give you a taste. And but that's enough. If you know, like I said, 30 minutes is great. It's better than not at all. And then also, if you're interested in more, we'll have for purchase some longer restorative yoga classes. And also there, we right now we're providing just in general a free yoga class for women age 40 and older, and it'll be free until the end of May. And so I invite you to, take advantage of that as well. And if you're under 40, if you sneak in, nobody will bother you. So.
Fantastic. Those are really wonderful, truly wonderful gifts that you're sharing with people. Everyone, the links are underneath here below. So if this is speaking to you, please do take action on them. Miriam, this has just been, like I said, it's been really wonderful. I have really, really loved it. I've never entertained that idea before of self-care being radical act in the way that you've invited us to look at it today, and I really appreciate that. Really resonates with me, and just beautiful. Just that exercise. It's still with me. It's just just vibrating around my heart at the moment. It feels wonderful. So really massive thank you for coming and sharing this with us today. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me.
And everyone, thank you as well for joining us today. I hope you did the exercise with us, because for me it was powerful. Just shows how just a small amount of time can really make such a difference. If you would like to share what happened for you, if you did the exercise with us, or if you've got, some response, some aha moments, or some thoughts come up or inspirations, and you'd like to share them, then please do just write them in response to any of the emails of the summit. And you can say it's in relation to Miriam's interview, and anything you pass to me, I'll pass on to her so that she gets that, and we keep the energy moving. And thank you all for joining us. And just a final, huge thank you to you again, Miriam. Thank you.
Thank you.